So, guys, I wanted to do a video on morality. Um, I have something prepared for you, a couple of images as well. So, let's start the presentation. The thing with morality that I found out is that there is a very strong contingent within the right wing of people who are fundamentally, let's say, pagans. They believe in let's say worldly power to change things. Uh, so these are people from like the new right, um, and it includes people like Dugin, like Alexander Dugin. These are people who, let's say, have a very strong focus on, let's say, a certain kind of mystical way of viewing reality, and they believe in, let's say, truth, beauty, and goodness. But in a sense, they end up grounding it in themselves. They end up grounding it in pure power. It's a form of neo-fascism, and I wanted to explore morality because it's something that touches all of our lives, and we sometimes like end up uh, relegating it to a secondary position or to elevating it to a place where it doesn't belong. So some intellectuals want to speak about metaphysics or speak about epistemology and relegate ethics to a very distant third category. And while it is true that first comes epistemology, then comes metaphysics, and only third ethics, the problem with marginalizing ethics is that it leaves people without a philosophical training behind. Most people haven't lived long enough or devoted enough time or even had the opportunity to engage with things in a more contemplative fashion. Yet they all make moral choices in their lives. What's worse is that the world is full of false teachers who claim to show the way to navigate life and who not only know nothing about life, but whose livelihoods are dependent on peddling these lies. They're basically false teachers who sell degeneracy. They're everywhere nowadays, especially in social media. They can be influencers selling a lifestyle, self-styled gurus and therapists trying to redefine spiritual and mental health or success, worldly success, philosophers claiming to know absolute truth, scientists presenting their narratives are purely objective, politicians and ideologues, etc. Everybody's talking about how other people should live their lives, and although this isn't necessarily wrong, the wrong people are the ones who are speaking, especially in the liberal West. Everybody needs morality, and yet few even know what it is. Our lack of clarity is not entirely the fault of regular people trying their best to be good people, but rather the product of entire worldviews that systematically hide away truth in favor of false images of what man is. So, the problem, in short, is humanism. The idea that human beings can attain morality by themselves, that mankind can fold into itself to seek morality within, as if morality was merely doing your own will, doing what you yourself set as a standard for yourself arbitrarily. It doesn't even have to be, let's say, your desire, but simply has to be a man made standard. Morality, however, is not an individualistic thing or a man made thing because human beings are limited. True morality is our capacity for self reflexivity, uh, recognizing itself as a limited capacity in relationship to a transcendent other who is the fullness of truth. So there is a standard outside of you. And to be moral is to recognize the distance between yourself and an objective other standard. It's the recognition of another being beyond yourself. So it cannot be a self contained thing. Animals cannot be moral because they cannot self reflect, and human beings can only be moral if, in their self reflection, they're able to see themselves as limited. If they notice that there's a distance between their own capacity to perceive and totality, uh, let's say a distance between your perception and reality, a potential distance between your perception and reality, a recognition of an ineradicable personal blind spot in regards to totality. So you're not Sauron, man. Morality is the miraculous practice of apprehending everything through the humility of our human limitations. It is the purification of our hearts, being able to cover the distances that we are unable to cover, let's say, with other faculties such as our reasoning, our discursive reason, our reasoning ability. As AI advances, we are using more and more energy to try to make ever more complex and bigger networks with the blind delusion that if we can make an AI big enough, then it will be able to solve the problems of perceiving reality that we're facing today. This enterprise is doomed to fail because there isn't enough energy in the world to make the world able to perceive itself perfectly. It is a totalitarian attempt at creating a god. It is the Tower of Babel itself, man using pure power, using the visible to try to govern the invisible, to use the earth to dominate the heavens. It is also an attempt to, let's say, prevent us from dying. It's an attempt to, let's say, attain immortality by ourselves, by our own hand. So basically, we're so afraid of dying that we're going to build let's say the technologies and the tools that will destroy us. In the end, we will destroy ourselves through this, because in our fallen spirituality, we will not be able to tolerate anything that is not playing the same game of trying to let's say use death to forestall our own death forever. So if the earth cannot contain heaven by itself, if building a tower to the heavens is fundamentally impossible, then the only possible way for man to know the truth, to be moral, is for the heavens themselves to condescend to earth and meet earth. So, for this to be possible, earth must prepare itself to receive the heavens, and to us for the heavens to be manifested on earth. There's an image I wanted to share with you. Let's see if I can find it. This will do. So, here we have an icon of the Mother of God. This is the mountain of being. This is, let's say, creation preparing itself to receive the influence of heaven. This is the visible uh, being able to accept and to call for the invisible to rule. So this is what the saintly parents of the Mother of God, Saint Joaquin and Saint Anna, did when they prayed for a child. They asked God for a child and promised that if God granted them their wish, they would consecrate their child to God. The thing is, they didn't want a child to merely express themselves, but to express heaven through themselves. The earth's sincere desire to express the heavens over expressing itself is what allows for truth to manifest and for self expression to be good. In sacrificing self expression for the self's sake and becoming willing to sacrifice our own wills and desires, we find that those very same things that we were willing to sacrifice are recovered in God. That if we first pursue goodness without presupposing to know it perfectly, in pursuing the transcendent, then the immanent will manifest the transcendent. The visible will manifest the invisible. Everything that is truly important to man is invisible: love, justice, truth, and all the visible things exist to express these invisible purposes. That is how we participate in the transfiguration of the world. There is no political solution, there is no, let's say, economic or technological solution. What we do is we attain spiritual clarity, and through that spiritual clarity, our hearts become purer. So we dedicate the world, we consecrate it all to God. This also means that man does not start from nothing nor from himself, as some claim, but rather that in the beginning man knew God, and that all of our traditions bear some recollection of that meeting. We are not the product of liars and ignorant crooks who pretended to know something that is unknowable, or what is essentially the same in a different guise, that we are descended from apes. Our ancestors weren't completely evil and backwards, nor did they impose an arbitrary morality to enslave us. They gave us the best that they had to offer us, and within that, something that is eternally true and worth keeping. Morality is that which allows us to know that that truth is real beyond our human limitations. Of course, being limited means that we cannot have certainties, that our lives are predicated on faith, but we should pay close attention to the way people speak, because people will eventually fall into one of two camps, which tells you how they will align. There will be those who say that history is indeterminate and that we can make of it what we want, that we have the power to shape reality. Those will be destroyed. On the other hand, those who will be saved will say that we do not determine reality, but that we will play a part in its unfolding, whether for good or for ill, and that God knows how it will play out. So that's, let's say, a contemplation that I wanted to leave you guys with. So thank you for watching.